Section 11.4.1. Find the critical value for the right tail test with alpha equals 0.001 degrees of freedom and the numerator is equal to 6 and the degrees of freedom in the denominator is equal to 5. Okay, first and foremost, the critical value is in the following form, where we have f alpha n subscript 1 minus 1 and subscript 2 minus 1. Okay, so the first thing we need to know is that this is a right tail test. So we know it's a right tail test. Okay, and then what do we know about alpha? Well, we know that alpha is equal to 0.001. Okay, we know the degrees of freedom, okay, in the numerator is equal to 6, and we know the degrees of freedom in the denominator is equal to 5. Okay, so what we're looking for is the following. We're looking for f, okay, alpha is going to be 0.001. We know the degrees of freedom in the numerator is 6, and the degrees of freedom in the denominator is going to be 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the F distribution table to look up the critical value, and then we're going to make sure to use the correct column in the row. And so you can download this table at the beginning of the outline for this week, or you can take a look at 11.4 lectures and you'll see that you can download it from there. Now remember here that you're looking for the degrees of freedom in the numerator is 6. The degrees of freedom in the denominator is 5. So let's go ahead and open this up. I'm going to open up the document. Okay, so here, okay, we're looking for degrees of freedom in the numerator. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy this since we can take a look at this here. So I'm going to copy this table and then bring it over so we can see this a little bit more clearly. Okay, so here is our F distribution table. Okay, so the degrees of freedom in the numerator, okay, is the following. So with the degrees of freedom in the numerator is 6. So here's the degrees of freedom in the numerator, and there's 6. And the degrees of freedom in the denominator is 5. So we can take a look at that here, and we can see that the degrees of freedom in the denominator is 5. Okay, and now we need to look at alpha. Okay, so what is alpha? Well, alpha is 0.001. So we're going to look here, and I'm going to go ahead and, so you can see here, we're choosing one of those options. And we know that alpha is represented by 0.001. So we're going to scroll here to the right until we get the degrees of freedom for 6. And then down here, and then we're going to see what that critical number is going to be. So we can see that critical value is 28.83. So the critical value here is going to be 28.83. Okay, so now what we're going to need to do is we need to draw the graph of the F distribution with the critical region labeled. So what we want to do is we want to graph that. Now recall that you're going to hear everything is going to be to the right. So here's the probability and there is the critical value. So we draw our bell curve, which is skewed right. Okay, and we know that our critical value is located here at 28.83, and then this represents the critical region that's shaded. So therefore, here is the critical region.